Welcome to Healing Whole, the podcast. I'm your host, Callie. I'm a certified personal trainer and fitness instructor. I also happen to be extremely passionate about holistic living. With close to 10 years of experience, I've worked with clients from all walks of life. I also know a healthy and holistic lifestyle can be a little overwhelming. I'm here to break it down for you and take you on my journey to healing whole. Remember, the materials and content within this podcast are intended as general information only and are not to be considered a substitute for medical advice or treatment. Hey, so it's Callie. I am here alone today. I'm doing something a little bit different. So if you've been following me for a little bit of a time, following this podcast at least, you would know that the first 2 episodes I did on my own, and then following that, I have been doing a series of interviews, which I'm going to continue to do a series of interviews, so don't get nervous. It's not going to be me talking, because I know that can be quite boring, but in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, I kind of wanted to get back on, talk about my story, really for myself, honestly. It's cathartic for me. It is healing for me. People tell me I'm brave. I don't feel brave. I feel like I'm trying to get better. But anyway, I am at my parents' camper right now. It's Memorial Day weekend and I'm camping. There are cars in the background, so you're probably going to hear them. You're probably going to hear the wind, so I'm sorry about that. But it was just my daughter sleeping, and this was a perfect time to get on here and talk. Let me actually close my email down so you're not going to hear that the whole time either. All right. So, like I said, I just wanted to hop on here to talk about stuff, like talk about what's been going on. So many of you know, maybe not all of you who are listening, that I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in November of last year. So I had some things happen. Sorry about the loudness. I know that one was probably loud. I had some life-altering events happen, and I didn't handle them very well. I ended up having sort of a mental breakdown, was having massive panic attacks where I was actually physically convulsing, and I was in the tub with my daughter, and I started having one of those panic attacks, and I hit my head off the wall, the shower wall, and it wasn't a plastic shower wall, it was a stone shower wall, so it was hard. And I looked at Annalise after I calmed down and was like, oh my God, that really hurt. And I thought, if I had hit my head a little harder, I could have passed out and my daughter could have died in this tub. And that is when I realized I was not okay and I needed help. So I texted my mother and I said, please call my cousin. I need to go to the hospital. I cannot take care of Annalise at this moment. It wasn't I was going to hurt her at all. By any means, I would never harm my child. I couldn't take care of her because I couldn't take care of myself. And it wasn't fair to her, and I needed help. I was on my way to committing suicide, and that's really hard to say, but I was definitely on my way to committing suicide. I had a plan. I was going to hang myself in my attic. I just knew what I was going to do. I just found no point in living anymore. So, and this is not the first time I felt like that. I felt like this on and off since I was about 16 years old. I had a boyfriend in high school who was really quite abusive. He would throw me into closets, punch me, not in the face ever, but punch me, push me around. One time he strangled me over a banister, and just was all around just very abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally. And kind of after that was my downfall. That's when the depression started. That's when the bad anxiety started. That's when the feeling like I was not worthy started. So I immediately after that remember having suicidal thoughts with my boyfriend after that. And not necessarily wasn't the boyfriend's fault. It was just what I had gone through. And I already predisposed to depression and anxiety anyway in my family, and probably bipolar. And I was probably bipolar at the time, and I didn't know. So, regardless, the suicidal thoughts have been around for a long time. So it wasn't just this chain of events that caused them. It's been happening. I was in a really good place for a while, but I have a bad habit of letting relationships take over my life, and I forget to take care of myself. and I ended up in that situation. But in credit to the person that was in the relationship, they did the same thing. They forgot to take care of themselves and was too worried about taking care of me. So it ended up we just both weren't taking care of ourselves, and it was very sad because it was a very good relationship, and we both had to take some time apart to focus on ourselves. But anyway, that's my story. No, that's not just my story. But anyway, so I was diagnosed with bipolar in November. I ended up going to the hospital. I was going in to talk to the psychiatrist, and he said, "So what's going on?" And I said, "Well, I just do so much, and I get overwhelmed, and I have a daughter, and I'm a single mother, and it's just hard." And he said, "But those are choices you made." And I said, "I understand that, but it's still hard." And he said, "Yeah, but they're choices you made, and it seems like you're just complaining about them." And then I said, I understand that, but I get involved in so much, and I do so much, and I get so overwhelmed, and then I can't follow through with anything." And he said, "What do you do?" And I listed the umpteen things that I was doing at the time, which was insane, not fair to anybody, especially myself. And he said, "Have you ever heard of bipolar?" And I said, "Yes, I know I am. I am bipolar. I've told people I'm bipolar." And it was like, finally, somebody listened to me. Somebody believed me. Somebody heard what I had to say. I have been telling therapists for 10 years that I thought I was bipolar. 10 years. And nobody listened. Or they listened and thought, "Oh, maybe," and they didn't do anything about it. So this was like my aha moment, like my, "Oh my God, thank you so much for doing this for me. Thank you." It was just, God, it was amazing. So we went over some medications, and I wrote about this. My seasoned psychiatrist, along with me, the hippy dippy Eastern medicine girl, went along with some Western medicine. And it's been good. The medicine definitely helps my manic episodes. I have way less manic episodes. So if you don't know what a manic episode is like, it's you feel amazing, like you're on top of the world, you're super productive, you're operating at like 500%. So imagine being your best day ever, but times 10. It's amazing. It's really great. It really is. But it's not sustainable. Nobody can operate at that high of a level 24/7, 365 days a year. So then you end up crashing, right? So then when you crash, it's the worst thing in the world. It's like, I don't understand what the point of living is. I'm so miserable. I'm so depressed. I'm just so down and out. This is awful. I can't handle this anymore. So it's unattainable. It's unattainable. It's an unattainable lifestyle. And then what comes with that also is, for me at least, was a lot of changing of my mind, a lot of bad decision making, a lot of promiscuity, a lot of drinking. And I was doing that to cope, but I was also just doing that because I was either manic or depressed at the time. And it's just a really awful situation. So I got diagnosed in November, came out of the hospital, was just doing my thing. My boyfriend and I were good. My daughter was amazing. And then one night I had a few beers, and the next day I was in massive panic mode. All day I felt like I was going to die. Like, I'm just going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. That's all I could keep thinking was, I'm going to die. I'm dying. And I called my boyfriend at the time, and he tried to calm me down. It didn't work. I called my dad. My dad, for some reason, seems to calm me down when I'm having a panic attack. So my boyfriend got home. It was fine. And then I had a panic attack again. And I had to literally get myself to sleep. I just had to get myself to sleep. This was not helping. Nothing was helping. So the next day I woke up and I thought, I have to go to Florida. I have to go be with my parents. I have to go be with my parents because I cannot continue doing what I'm doing right now. I need to take a break. And it was originally only going to be for 2 weeks. So my boyfriend was amazing. He was like, "Go. You need to do this for yourself. Go and get better." So I did. I went to Florida, and I was sort of feeling better. Immediately, I think I started to feel better, and then I started to decline again. The plan was to stay until New Year's, but then I just wasn't entirely sure what to do. I wasn't better yet. I wasn't better yet. I needed to take a break from life still. I wasn't ready to go back. Um, so, about when January came around, I decided to tell my job that I wasn't ready to come back and I wasn't well. Because I wasn't well, I was still suffering from suicidal thoughts. And actually, what had happened was I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I wasn't ready to make a decision yet. So I came back home to move my stuff into storage. And while I was home, I actually ended up back in the hospital. And that was my huge sign that I was not ready to come back to the real world. Because I went to my med check, which is where you get your medication. I went to my med check and I was telling her I felt suicidal. I felt awful. I wanted to die. So she said we were having passive death wishes. And I said yes, which means I want to die, but I don't have a plan. I didn't have a plan that time. So I came out of the doctor's office. I got into the car with my boyfriend. And I said, they told me I needed to go to the hospital. And he said, okay. So we went to Walmart and we got some things for me, some snacks and things like that, because I knew what you could take because I had already been there once. Took me home, packed up my things, and then I went to the hospital and he sat with me in the hospital until I went back, pretty much. And packed all my things and put them into storage for me. But anyway, that was my moment that I knew I needed a little more time and I just wasn't ready yet. I wasn't ready to make any decisions. I wasn't ready to make any decisions until months later, until I realized why I make the decisions I make. So anyway, I went back to Florida and I started to feel better finally. When I got back, I finally started to feel better. It was like they switched my meds. So they upped my dose of my mood stabilizer, which is for bipolar. And then they also upped my dose of my Zoloft, which is for my anxiety and depression. And that seemed to really help immensely. And they also gave me something for panic attacks called Vistarol, which is actually an antihistamine. And it just calms the nervous system down. So anyway, I was feeling really good. And I actually went about 3 months without being suicidal. But I was also taking really great care of myself. I was exercising every day, whether it just be a light walk or an intense workout or yoga. I was eating very well. I was not drinking alcohol. And I was journaling every day and doing self-care. So again, I know I've talked about this a million times, but every single day I write down my intentions for the day, 10 positive affirmations, and then 5 things that I'm grateful for. And then I write my little to-dos. It's intentions, affirmations, what I'm grateful for, to read something, to write something, to listen to something motivational, to eat well, to meditate, and to be kind to myself. So I try to do all of those things every day, and I don't do them all every single day, but I try my best. And I'm kind to myself if I don't attain that. But I forget where I was. I was in Florida. I was doing really good. I wasn't having any suicidal thoughts, so I thought, I'm ready to come home. So I came home. And shortly after I came home, the suicidal thoughts came back. Immediately. It was just a lot. It was a lot. So I tried to, suffer through them for a while. I tried to get through. It wasn't working. It was getting really bad. I mean, it was just too much. It was too much. My life wasn't the same as it was before I left. So that was scary. I felt left behind. I felt lost. I felt like, what the hell am I doing with my life? I'm 28 years old and I'm just starting over again. I had started over so many times up to this point because of my bipolar disorder. I made horrible decisions where I would do one thing and then another thing and another thing, and that wasn't me. It was my bipolar, but I did that and I had to live with it, and it was awful. So I was having really bad suicidal thoughts again, and then I ended up with a plan, and I wouldn't say I tried, but I made sure it would work. It was again to hang myself because for some reason that's my go-to. And I didn't try. I tried it, but I wasn't like attempting suicide at the time because my daughter was there. I wouldn't have done it then. But I tried it to see if it would work, and it would. And a friend came over, was super worried about me, um, and kind of took care of me, talked me off the ledge. Um, but sorry, getting distracted. I then then after that, was going to go to the hospital back again because I knew I was not okay. I went to my therapist. And I was talking to her, and she was very worried about me. And this was the first time I had seen her so worried about me. And she said, well, can you go to the hospital? And I said, I can't. I don't have anybody to take care of my daughter because I was too worried to ask people. And then sorry, it's a lot. She said, well, what about this partial program? You go in, you do different things like art therapy, group therapy, individual therapy, you meet with psychiatrists. And I said, okay, that sounds good. And I was going to do that, but it was bad. I left that appointment and I thought, I just need to go to the hospital. I'm going to kill myself. So I actually got everything arranged to go. I had a sitter for my daughter. I had everything in order. I pulled into the hospital parking lot and I got this phone number, and I recognized the phone number, so I picked it up. And it was that partial program. They called me and they said, can you start tomorrow? And I said, absolutely. So I didn't have to go to the hospital. So for about the last month, I've been in this partial program, which means I go to therapy. It was 5 days a week. I have to work now, so I can't go, unfortunately. I go to therapy I was going 5 days a week. There are 2 group therapy sessions, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. In the morning, we check in, tell them like where we're at with our day, how our anxiety is, how our depression is, things like that. Then we do our group therapy session, and then we take a lunch, and then we do a group therapy session in the afternoon, and then we check in again at the end of the day. So we do all that, and then we meet one-on-one with a therapist, and we meet with a psychiatrist. So if you are struggling, let me tell you, I highly suggest a partial program. It means partial hospitalization. You're free to go at the end of the day, but it has really changed. I mean, it's teaching me a lot of coping skills, and it's fun, and they care about you, and you know you're not alone. And to hear someone saying, oh yeah, this weekend I wanted to kill myself, or this weekend I had this plan, or this weekend I was so depressed, or this weekend I was so anxious, and crying in front of other people, and they're crying for you. It's just, you don't feel alone, and that is the issue with being suicidal, is that you feel alone, and you feel like a huge burden, and it's awful. And in this program, you are not alone. So I've been doing that for about the last month, and things have been really well. I've still had a few suicidal thoughts, but not anything super severe. The depression and anxiety was still there. But I will say, about a week ago, a client of mine gave me some CBD oil. And I have not had a suicidal thought since I started that CBD oil, but I forgot it at home, so we're going to see how that goes. I may ask my mom to pick it up for me on our way back from work. But, yeah, so it's been going good. Things have been okay. So every day this month, I have been sharing something about my story. I missed a few days because I have the right to take days off, just like everybody else does, and it's about self-care and me taking care of myself. And I'm probably going to take this weekend off because I just want to go camping and not worry about social media. But I've been sharing every day, and I decided to do this because I wanted to share my journey and my story and, my life, so other people know that they're not alone. I'm not brave for doing this. I am maybe selfish for doing this because I'm definitely doing it a lot for myself. I'm doing it to feel better. I'm doing it to heal. But I am doing it also, like I said, because I don't want people to know they're not alone. But I need people to understand that they aren't alone. There are so many people experiencing suicidal thoughts. So many. If I could tell you the amount of people that have reached out to me that have said they're going through something similar or they were going through something similar, you are not alone. It's just so not talked about. And it's becoming to get more talked about, which is amazing. But it's not talked about enough because there's a fear. There's fear of it. There's fear to talk about it. There's fear that you don't know what to say. And I think there is fear that more people will commit suicide if it's talked about more. But I firmly believe that if we talk about it, less people will commit suicide. Because they'll be able to reach out. I never reached out to anyone because I was too embarrassed. I was too scared. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I was mortified. I thought my people would just think I was like the scum of the earth if I told them what I was thinking. You're just not alone. It needs to be talked about more. And I'm trying to talk about it more to make it more acceptable. And if you have a story and you don't feel like you can talk to anybody, message me. Message me and I will talk to you as best as I can. I always recommend going to a therapist, but I will talk to you as best as I can. It's so hard feeling alone. It is so hard feeling alone. And I know so many people feel like they're alone. They feel like they don't have anybody. They feel abandoned. I feel abandoned. When people are living their lives and you're at home depressed and miserable and you don't know how you're going to succeed to the next day or get to the next day, how can you not feel alone? You know? So I want people to know they're not alone. And Mental Health Awareness Month is so much about that. So much about that. It's nothing to be embarrassed of. Mental health is the same thing as physical health. It might be more important. Our brain, we don't get another brain. You can get transplants on everything but a brain. Our brains are so important, and sometimes they're just a little different. Sometimes they're a little different, and sometimes we have to take a little extra care. And that's okay. It's okay to have to take that extra care. It's okay for me to say, listen, every morning I'm going to wake up an hour earlier so I can do my self-care routine. Every night I'm going to put in at least to bed an hour early so I can take care of myself. I'm going to take time off work to go to do this program for myself, and I'm going to be poor for a while, and my daughter might not get a new pair of shoes, and she might not get some new clothes, and I might not have the nicest things, and I might struggle a little bit, but I'm going to do this to take care of myself because my mental health is important enough, and so is yours. We are all important enough to take care of ourselves, whether it be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is. We are all important enough to take care of ourselves, and we need to realize that. Go to church. Don't let things get in the way of going to church. I'm just throwing this out there as an example. But I know so many people say, well, I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I have to do that. Screw that. Go to church. Have that spiritual connection to God. Or go to we have a local full moon healing release with a fire. Go do that. Go do that. Take your kids. Experience it with them. If they have to miss a soccer game so they can go do that, and you need to have that spiritual connection, you do it. Absolutely. Get that workout in. Wake up an hour earlier to get that workout in. You know why? Because you're worth it. You are worth it. You are worth that movement. You are worth it to feel good. And I will tell you that exercise has been a huge part of me healing. It is huge. If I'm not exercising, I don't feel my best. If I'm not eating right, I don't feel my best. You have to do those things to take care of yourself. And you are so worth it. And it's hard. It's so hard to realize that you are worth it. Trust me, I know. It took me a long time to realize I'm worth it, and I still struggle with it. But I know that I have to do these things to be the best mom I can be. And we all have to do these things to be the best parents we can be, or the best versions of ourselves. Or otherwise, we're just burning the candlestick at both ends. We're trying to fill from an empty cup, and we can't do that. We just can't. So take the time and take care of yourself and be brave and talk about it. And be fearless and tell someone your story. Tell someone you love your story. Tell someone what you're going through so you don't feel so alone, because you aren't alone. You aren't alone, I promise you. I thought I was alone, and I was not alone. I have the most people that support me. It's amazing. You are never alone. So that's all I have for today. I'm going to go finish camping and having fun outside. But I just wanted to share that with everybody. I wanted to go back and just kind of give an update. I wanted to share that we're not alone. We have so much to live for. There's so much to live for. It's beautiful. We just have to be brave enough to see it. Really, that's it. We have to be brave enough to see it and be brave enough to know that we're worthy of it. So next week we'll be back with interviews, probably back to about an hour-long podcast. This is something different again in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month. I wanted to end it off with me being the guest. Please, if you have any questions, reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook, Callie Tony CPT. You can find me on Instagram, healingwhole_CTCPT, and Twitter. I think it's Callie Tony CPT. But please reach out to me, find me, message me. We'll get through this together, man. We have to stick together. So anyway, I hope you all have a great 2 weeks, and we'll see you in 2 weeks with the next episode of Healing Whole Podcast. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening, as always. Bye-bye.